broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Just hearing this music after tonight, I get nostalgic. It's almost emotional. If you guys are just tuning in, welcome to AfterBuzz TV. This is your SNL after show, and tonight I just feel like honored to be a part of what's happening.
Totally. Yeah.
We're not the employees of SNL or NBC.
Would you think maybe we are?
Yeah. Let's give it a shout. Look at that little thing.
Look how pretty we are.
Look how pretty it is. Guys, if you're just joining us, you're tuning in. If you're listening on iTunes, and this is tomorrow, this is Monday, this is 10 years from now, we are your panel for the SNL After Show. I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Danny Hoyt. I'm your host.
I'm Kimberly Crossman.
I'm Kelly McInerney.
And I'm Katie Wilbert.
And our job is to talk about what happened on the show, to listen to you guys when you tweet in. You can live stream watch us on YouTube. You can also watch us on AfterBuzz TV. I know that my sisters and brother-in-law are watching from Kansas City. I know there's people tweeting us from around the world. There was a lady tweeting us today, and she already had questions she was asking earlier in the day. So
Brittany,
this is Brittany. What's up, Brittany?
Yes.
This is a community, and that's why we do this, is to include you guys, to have fun with you guys, and to talk about what happened. So let's dive in. We have so much to cover.
Oh my gosh, do we? Yeah.
We should.
Well, go ahead.
You go.
Before, I feel like you had something.
It was like, if you want to tweet us, you can also use the hashtag ABTVSNL so that we can search through it and stuff.
You're so good at remembering things. Great
Oh my gosh, you guys.
But I think we should talk about overall how we felt, because this was a Goosebumps episode. If there's ever been a Goosebumps episode, it was like start to finish Goosebumps for me.
Yeah.
There were moments where I felt like oddly teary-eyed, but I think that it's been something that's been a part of my life for so long too. I've always watched it, and just everything about it felt goose-pimply and lovely.
Goose-pimples, not goosebumps. Goose-pimples.
Super nostalgic, too. It's like, can I just watch all the episodes ever now? Can I just quit my job and just spend my whole day watching all 40 years? It'd be great.
I think for me, I'm from New Zealand and we don't have SNL, so I guess for me, seeing some of these montages, they were clips that if they didn't go viral, maybe I missed them. So I felt like there was a lot of things that I watched tonight where I'm like, what was that? That looked brilliant. So of course nostalgic for some of it, but then a lot of it too, excitement of oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. I want to go back. So
sure.
That was cool.
And I think we all said this at some point during it. It made you want to go back and watch the best of DVDs.
Completely.
Yes.
Katie and I both said we own the best of Will Ferrell 1 and 2, which
Me too.
they're two of my favorite DVDs that I own in my life.
Yeah.
I know.
And it just made me kind of I want to go home and watch them right now. And then there's the Eddie Murphy ones, and it goes on and on. So
they had the first 5 years, I think, on DVD too. The original not ready for the 75.
75 to 80.
Yeah.
I actually hooked up my Apple TV finally today, and I saw that there was a best of thing on there.
Do it.
So maybe I'll go home and do that tonight. As an overall tribute to SNL 40, I felt like it couldn't have been done better.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a guest I would say that missed. There wasn't.
I mean, I feel like there's some. I wanted Sherry O'Terry to be there doing the Spartans, but they had a Will Ferrell thing. You could only pick the best of each era.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a knock on Sherry O'Terry. It's more of they could have gone for 6 hours and people still would have felt like there's a few
Something
little ones
else.
like that.
Of course.
But overall, I feel like they honored the right people. They brought in the right faces.
Yeah.
They did the right sketches. I don't feel like there's anybody that's going to come away and knock it. Any media that's going to say, it was okay. Yeah. No one's going to give this less than an A.
Well, there's one part of it I thought was not that good.
I gotta give a shout out. Sorry, I just got a little note from our producer Alexis. Which, by the way, Alexis, how you doing back there?
I'm doing great.
We have our producer Alexis. She says that she owns the best of Chris Farley DVD, which is another good one. Good call, Alexis.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think a lot of
out, especially since it's the 40th anniversary. I had to
And
shout
it's
it
his
out.
birthday.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly, that's why I had to do it.
Yeah.
Well
We had
played.
Kevin Farley on last season as a guest here on AfterBuzz with us, and he said he'd be willing to come back anytime. So maybe we'll We'll call him up and have him come back this season. He was a fantastic guest because he gave us a lot of insight into what happens after the show. I know they made jokes about
mass orgies.
But there is some.
What kind of insight did he give you?
Well, there are some cool moments that you hear about what happens and how sketches get knocked and different things that change live on the fly. It's very neat to hear because he was with Chris a lot of the times. Chris was a guest on the show and a cast member, and so he just kind of navigated what we don't see, which is why we try to bring on guests like that. So I will say too, and I can confirm this will happen now. I was with Will Forte last night actually, and we were going to try to get him for this show as a guest. I don't know where I'm looking. Alexis, where am I at? There, okay. I'm gonna make sure
you and I will just be like this the whole show.
Where?
Mamma mia.
But I was with him last night. He left on a late flight out. Wasn't sure if he was even going to make it because a lot of flights got canceled. But he is going to come on the show as soon as things slow down. He has a show coming out in March next month. Last Man on Earth.
March 1st, I think.
Which is huge. There's billboards all around California. You'll probably see promos on TV. But he is going to come on, and I think that will be cool to hear, especially from behind the scenes stuff from tonight. Because I can't even imagine what's happening right now. Like the parties and the craziness.
Well, there's so many pictures on Instagram. We were talking before we got on the show that Bobby Moynihan is taking pictures with
George Lucas.
Yes. And we paused it several times to just look into the audience and be like, there's Steven Spielberg. Like,
I like the first person I saw. I was like, it's Donald Trump. Like, out of all the people, that's...
Yeah, you nailed that. Was
that man.
Let us know if you guys at home did the same thing we did. Yeah, we paused it and literally went through the audience to figure out who we could see. So if you saw somebody really creative or somebody hiding in the back, tweet us, let us know. I want to know who else was in the audience. Speaking of the audience, because right from the start, we're going to jump into Jimmy and Justin's opening here, but right from the start, they did some cool shots of the audience that I don't feel like I've ever seen. It was neat to see that.
Is it usually that full?
It's always full and people wait.
That full, or had they added? Because I guess I haven't seen as wide as that. Because it felt like they went around the side too.
I don't know, because usually they have a floor with just a square, but I don't know if that was even there for this one. So it might have just been the bleachers. Yeah.
Interesting.
But I think they did that because they wanted you to see, like, oh, look at all these famous people watching. You know?
Exactly what we did.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that. It felt a bit like an award show, and everyone was fancy pants. And
there was a moment. I actually have it in my notes, and I'll call it out when we get to it, but they cut back from commercial and they kind of showed, and so many people were outside of their seats talking to each other. It was, we kind of said it was like an awards show. But it's interesting you mentioned Donald Trump, because you see people like that, that are in the audience that had no part in tonight. He was just there. I would have liked to see somebody ask him a question, or him stand up and ask a stupid question, and maybe back to Sarah Palin or something like that.
Yeah, I thought that there must have been a gag. I mean, they did so many mentions of New York City, and I guess he's the poster boy for New York City, so I figured there may have been a question there.
Donald Trump also, like Daryl Hammond, his whole bit, he does a great impression of Donald Trump when he was on. So, but I guess he hosted once too, Donald Trump.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
It was okay. My opinion is okay. But let's talk about, let's dive into the anniversary here. Jimmy Fallon, Justin Timberlake, last year with Roya, who used to be the host of the show, she asked who we thought was going to host this episode, and I said Jimmy Fallon. That was my prediction last year. I actually had it on my reel for a while. I love Jimmy Fallon. I couldn't think of somebody better to open it. So for me, this was ultimate. And I don't know if you guys saw this. It was either Jimmy or Justin. One of them posted on Instagram earlier this week and said, it was Justin Timberlake posted on Instagram and said he thinks Jimmy was onto something. It showed them kind of writing. There's some drinks on the table, and Jimmy was like doing this. I had no idea it would be this. Did you guys love it?
It was awesome.
Obsessed with both of them.
Me too.
As soon as they turned around, I was like, I already like this show. Everything about the next 3.5 hours are going to be great because they opened with Jimmy and Justin.
And they're so strong too. Like, I think that they do so great. It felt like, I asked you, I was like, were they reading that? And you said, yeah, I saw Jimmy reading.
Yeah.
To me, I didn't see any of that, and I was like...
I could see Jimmy reading down below the front camera, the middle camera.
It's crazy, though, how this boy bander is like a comedic genius now, you know? Like
the perfect man.
Yeah, yeah. That baby.
All right, well, now that I know I have a lot to live up to. What I loved about it, though, it kind of reminded me of the skits that Jimmy does on The Tonight Show, where they do, like, the history of dance, where they move through, and then they've done the history of rap with Justin. So it was a little bit of that flavor, but it was so SNL-centric, and it made you... I kind of wanted at first when they started doing, homages to certain sketches or like Jane, you ignorant slut. I kind of wanted those people that said the original phrases or did the original sketches to come out.
Oh, yeah.
But after watching it now, I think that would have ruined it because they were in a moment, they were in a vibe.
It was too fast too. I feel like.
You thought it was too fast?
No, I'm saying like for somebody to come out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and they ended up going back to like the Jane, you ignorant slut, and what was it? They did the cha cha, boochie, cha. They did
Dick
the roll
in the
call,
box.
Yes.
Dick in the box.
Just naming people.
Yeah, just
Dana Carvey. They said.
Yeah,
Omeleteville.
They did
More cowbell.
More cowbell, which we saw. Like when they did more cowbell was when I first thought it. I thought maybe Will Ferrell comes out and just walks behind him and does this and walks off screen.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a runner too, but I actually really liked that it was just a song, which is crazy because I'm always like poo-pooing on opening number songs, but I thought it was.
Well, they called it out because I know this about Katie. She's always like, "Oh, another person doing a musical number who shouldn't." And they literally said a musical number. They made a gag about it, saying that
Debbie
we all
Downer.
know that the ratings drop if someone does a musical number as an opener.
So one person did come out, Debbie Downer, to do her little
Sherry
bit.
O'Terry. She was the first
No,
guest
Rachel
we see.
Dratch.
Rachel Dratch, I mean. First guest we see of the entire evening is Rachel Dratch.
Yeah.
That kind of
Debbie
surprised
Downer,
me.
Though. It's such a classic, amazing
Everybody
character.
loves it. Yeah.
Well, and her and Jimmy are kind of paired forever because of that classic.
Yes.
It's official, and he loses it. Like
It's that Lindsay Lohan episode,
Yeah.
and they're at Disneyland, and it's so freaking funny.
I love that.
they didn't
I
even show
thought
you,
that
though.
they would bring her. For some reason, I thought if they're doing a Taylor Swift and they're doing a Miley, I thought they would go back a little further and get those kind of pivotal female.
You're a secret
role
Lindsay
models.
Lohan fan, aren't you?
Oh, I love Parent Trap.
That is a fantastic.
Who doesn't love?
That's her
It's
best
a
movie
great
ever.
movie.
Yeah, they talked about Coneheads, Gumby, Stefan, Jane, you're gonna slap, Pump You Up. Like they did the Pump You Up.
Ambiguously gay guys.
Which was interesting
Yes.
that one of the first commercials we see of the entire night is State Farm's Pump You Up.
Yeah.
And
we thought it was a sketch. We were
With
like,
Kevin
don't-
Nealon and
don't
Dana Carvey.
Fast forward. No, wait. Fast
Yeah.
forward. It's a commercial.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how much practice that routine took because it was dance moves, there was timing, there were props, there were people, there were guest stars.
Yeah.
So that's why I think they didn't memorize it, to your point. Although I think they could have, but I don't think it was necessary.
Also, it's not like a popular song, like how they do the history of rap.
Yeah.
Those are songs that are like ingrained in their heads. This they just
Sure,
wrote
sure.
this week. So
Yeah.
I feel like
Jimmy Fallon's kicks were off the hook.
yeah.
They were.
I heard you say that. You're like, ooh, high kicks.
He was really going for it. I was like, wow, he's really limber.
Well, I thought at first he was off and Justin was on. They were doing two separate things. At first, I thought.
Well, maybe
off
Jimmy
his dance
Fallon was
moves.
just like,
I will say my favorite part, and I don't know if I've ever seen this, so correct me if I'm wrong, but where they turned and did the reverse cam and they did live from New York at 7 with the audience in the background. It was just, it felt inclusive. It
Yeah.
felt like we were a part of it almost, you know?
Yeah, I wrote that.
I think
like
that's
that.
probably why they showed the audience a lot, because everybody that worked on it or like knew somebody was probably in the audience.
Yeah. And then watching the opening credits, this is when I got my first giant goosebumps moment. And I not even just on my arms. I think we both turned and said at the same time, Kimberly and I, but it was like goosebumps on my legs.
Yeah, that's what I said. I look at my arms. I was like, no, but my legs are.
Yeah.
That's
Just,
weird.
like, all the names, it was mind-boggling. And they
Yeah.
sprinkled in the current cast members and they went back to the old ones. It was just...
and they had those old transitions.
Yeah.
Wasn't it
It's so
alphabetized?
nice. It always
Yeah,
is.
well,
That's why.
Yeah. Like, they sprinkled it in. I'm like,
Smarter than I am.
no, it's alphabetized.
Yeah, and we'd go through the names, would honestly take too long. You guys can find it on YouTube.
It was just a Rolodex.
Yeah.
It was just a roll call, and
Amazing
I think I
people.
pulled it up here. If there's a website, if you want to see exactly who's on the Saturday Night Live, it's on Co-Sequence of Sound. Has the actual. They put it up right away. The actual alphabetical order list of everybody. So it's just.
Wow.
I mean, there were people that like Oprah is apparently there and involved, and wasn't like we never even saw her.
She's involved in everything.
Yeah.
Oprah's involved in everything. I don't even know if that's true, but that's apparently
People
what they
say
said.
Beyonce runs the world, but let's be real. It's Oprah.
So they come back to Steve Martin opening the second part, the monologue. What did you guys think of Steve Martin?
He's my favorite.
He's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just lovely. I mean, he didn't like do so much, but I just am always such a big fan of his.
What's the first thing you think of when you see Steve Martin that's related to SNL? Or I guess whether or not it's related to SNL.
The arrow when he plays banjo, he usually.
What was the line he says? He said it in the show.
Oh man.
He kind of like hunches down. He's like,
Oh, what is it? What does he say?
I can't
Oh
remember.
my god, I'm gonna think of it.
No,
Let's talk about something else, and then it's gonna come.
Yeah, but he
You
said
just
it in
yell
the
it.
show. He's like, I can't, like whatever it is. He kind of does that voice,
Yeah.
but. I think of...
Why did I write white people next to his name?
Because he made a joke about...
It's a high school with almost all white
Thank
people.
you. I'm like, I don't know why I've written this.
It's interesting.
Let me put it out there. White people.
Of all the people that are there, our friend that's there said that that's the person she literally physically ran into on the way to the bathroom. She ran into Steve Martin. I can't imagine how many moments are like that are happening around New York, even right now, like as the people are transitioning, going to after parties.
That's so cool.
I think Steve Martin's great as an ambassador for the show. I actually think, to give Roya props, because she'll be watching this, she said Steve Martin, that's who she gave the head nod to that would host this.
So you were
and I would say, we both win, Roya. But I would say, and Roya was the host of the show for a long time, I would say that he was as much of a host as Jimmy Fallon and Justin. In fact,
completely.
Maybe more.
Well, yeah, he's so funny, but he's also got this sort of, I don't know, elegance to him in the way that he speaks, and he just feels like the right person, in my opinion, to do that because of who he is and how he carries himself.
Yeah.
And
I thought that he was really personable and relaxed about it too, and I noticed that energy. I think that there were a couple of moments through it where people were just introing people, and I felt like they dropped the ball, so it was really nice. Like, you felt in safe hands.
Yeah, agreed.
With him.
That's a really good observation, and I think just so you guys know, they're listening and watching. Which, by the way, thank you for listening. I know a lot of people subscribe to us on YouTube and they watch on there, but a lot of people listen on iTunes. That's the majority of our listenership, I guess would be the word to use. So thank you guys for doing that. And if you do, help us out. Make sure and rate us 5 stars. That's the reason we do this, is for you guys. So if you do that, we can continue to do these shows. We like to know who's listening, who's watching. So I know we ask you to tweet us and to write us and comment when you're watching on YouTube. But really, rating us is what continues to show producers we can do shows like this. So
hey, he said, "Well, excuse me."
Were like,
sorry, I was Googling.
She was holding it. She was like, wait for it. And just so you guys know the order of our listening, the order of how we'll do tonight, just so you know what to expect. We're going to go in chronological order, but we won't cover everything, obviously, for time reasons. We have somewhere around 45 minutes left to get for the rest of our show.
But really quick with Steve Martin, I was hoping that Alec Baldwin would come out too, because they always have that duel.
Yeah.
And he did. So
that's the first, that and Sergeant Bilko are the first 2 things I think of. A movie and an SNL reference. I think of those 2 things when I think of Steve Martin.
Yeah.
But it was great that they finally got to the King Tut song, right?
They did. They got the King Tut song.
That was very pleasing.
But we'll get there. So I have a question for you guys. In looking at who they brought out for this show, they did it huge. Do you think part of the reason they did it so big is because in 10 years, when it's 50, which will be the biggest one, some of these people may not be around? Let's be real.
Wow, Daniel.
Well, I just want to be honest. I saw this.
I hope Jon Lovitz is not.
Jon Lovitz. That was a great way to bring it back from talking about people that have passed away.
I think so.
In 10 years, we might not have some of these comedic geniuses. I mean, this stuff happens. Look how much Phil Hartman was in this show tonight. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. So they did this one huge because who knows if SNL, what it will look like in 10 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you think that's part of the reason? Or do you think it's because 40 is just a giant... 30 wasn't this big?
I think 40 is a big number. It's so many years to have had a very successful television show, and it's grown so much. And I think it goes in waves, too, of people's interest coming and going, depending on the cast and what's going on politically, too.
Yeah.
But I think that's another thing, is it's had such an influence on politics too, and I don't know, I think 40 years is paramount to be able to celebrate the show's success, but it could be because people might be falling over in the next couple years.
Hey, Steve Martin, we want you to host for Not Sure If You'll Be Alive in 10 years. So. I think it's more where they're at, though, too. Like,
yeah, I can see that.
Because I don't think they had a 30th. They had 25th, right? Something like that.
There was a 30th summit, but it wasn't as big of a deal.
Yeah.
And this was, obviously the biggest thing they've done. 3 hours, and then it moved to 3.5, got added an extra half an hour, and then they added names. Like, Will didn't even know he was going out to do that little ESPN bit with Jason Sudeikis until 3 days ago. They just added people, which is cool to see that they do that.
It's like SNL, but like how they do it like SNL, like during the week of, even the anniversaries thing.
So Steve Martin's out there. Tom Hanks is the next person we see come out, and he kind of talks about, they start bringing in different people. Then it goes to Alec Baldwin, Melissa McCarthy, Chris Rock, Peyton Manning, Miley Cyrus, Billy Crystal, Paul McCartney, Paul Simon, and then to Dan Aykroyd, and where they talk about the different types of hosts and what they brought to the show. And I love the jokes, like Melissa's joke especially when she says, "Well, hosts who aren't men over 80," things like that. Did you guys love this idea?
Yeah,
I love it.
I think it that was why, first of all, when they did comedians versus actors, I was like, oh, okay, they're going to have a dig at all the different types of hosts. And because I felt like the running theme was how many times you've hosted throughout the thing. Like, there was all these digs, so it was like everyone's personal opinion put them in a certain category that slotted them into the show. So there's the whole, like, we've only hosted one camp. And I don't know, I thought that was kind of interesting, a way to make the segments work.
One of the things I thought was interesting, and tell me if you guys noticed this, that different guests that came on, some of them gave an applause to themselves, some of them, averted the spotlight to other people, and some of them took a dig, not in a fun way, like in a fun way at the show, not a serious one, but a little bit of a, like, for example, Chris Rock's, when they said, oh, we forgot you on the show, and he's like, well, so did the writers, and he looks right at camera. He's not mad about it. Chris Rock is Chris Rock. He's gone on to do great things, but that was a little bit of like, the writers, not in a mean way, but it was, you could tell there's a little something there.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a place that you can bring it up, though, because it's a part of the history of SNL. Like, these are things that they would have always chatted about and stuff backstage, like, why are these writers not writing for me? They're writing me the worst sketches, So, like, I feel like if there's a place to make a joke about it, like, it's probably there. I didn't mind it. I didn't go, like, ew, bad taste. I was like, hey.
I think it always... I think it always depends on, like, their time there, too. Like, that era with Adam Sandler and stuff, it was a new NBC exec that just didn't think they were funny. Like, Chris Rock, Adam Sandler, and Chris Farley. Yeah. Like, they let go Adam Sandler and Chris Farley because they were not funny.
Which blows our minds today.
So,
it blows our minds.
Yeah. And that's why, like, Mike Myers asked, like, Dana Carvey to be in Wayne's World because he was already, like a big name, so it helped them write it's all about who you, like, making connections there, and it was like
what was the money gig?
Yeah, the Miley Cyrus thing, which she said, I got paid $400 both times.
But they made a few jokes about, like, no one gets paid for the whole thing, that I was like, I don't know if that what kind of a dig that is.
Well, they made the gag about no one getting paid to be there tonight, but I think that when people host, they do. I don't think it's been revealed how much. Am I correct, Kelly? You know a little bit about
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure about the money
remember
thing.
when you hosted? How much did they pay you?
Kelly's been there twice, you guys, for dress rehearsals.
I mean, maybe it is $400 for if you're hosting or performing.
But that's not even comments. Like, I know they fly you out there and put you up, but still.
I mean, I don't know that they have to pay someone heaps because it's just an honor to be on SNL. Like, I think they have that clout enough to be able to be like, this is what we pay everyone, so we're not going to pay you anymore. It's SNL, so it's a gift to
That's true.
To
People do
like the Super Bowl. That's the halftime thing. They don't get paid for that.
Right. They wanted people to pay this year, and Katy Perry said absolutely not, and then she did it anyways, which I think is us. They wanted her to pay $50,000 to host it. Yeah. And she said nope, and they asked her anyways, which I think is cool. Yeah. But people do favors all the time for free things. For example, if you look at this picture right here, Katie, we didn't even ask you to do this. We got a photographer. We got our friend Sasha, who you know from acting class.
Yes.
To take this cool picture of us the other night, and then Katie edited this morning.
I woke up so early and just went online and did a tutorial on doing SNL bumpers, and this is what I came up with.
What, you learned how to do this and then just did it?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you. I think they're great.
Thanks.
We all put them up on our Instagrams and tweeted them. Mm-hmm. Wait, and we have more pictures, so are you saying you're going to have these for us?
You guys, there's going to be so many AfterBuzz SNL bumpers, you're probably going to start getting sick of them, but you won't because they're great.
Because you can use them as a screensaver. You could use them as a coaster.
Yep.
Great. Let's move into the first sketch. The first sketch we see, I'm a little surprised. I thought it was funny, but I didn't think it was, like, crazy funny. But it was just good to see Dan Aykroyd.
The Bass.
It was more, the Bass-o-Matic 2150. Yeah.
It
was kind of gross.
It made me salivate, and not in a good way, and you might spew away. I was like, I don't want to see your fish like that.
He really chewed that fish up in that blender, correct?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Mm-hmm.
We lost 3 fish. I mean, they were already dead, but that was 3 fish in that blender, and then I kind of love that it froze.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Do you think that was the bit though, that it was broken?
I didn't think so, because he couldn't even get the lid on at first. He was struggling to get the lid, and then he just reached and pressed it real quick. That happens to blenders all the time.
Yeah.
They freeze, and you kind of have to jiggle it. He jiggled it, and didn't do anything.
So you started yelling to camera. Bye now.
Yeah. It was weird that they picked that thing from the original cast to do, though. I feel like there's a bunch of other better ones.
But it's a good way to get Dan Aykroyd.
Wild and Crazy Guys, they could have done that.
They did that. 2 years ago.
Okay.
They had, because Steve Martin came back and they did the Wild and Crazy Guys.
Oh yeah, I think I remember.
Yeah, it was just 2 years ago they did that, which they could have done it again. I agree that it's iconic. Are you going to make fun of my Steve Martin Wild and Crazy Guys impression? Go, Kimberly.
No, I wasn't. I was going to say I love it when you do your asides. It was a compliment. I was going to compliment you, but I couldn't drink and compliment at the same time.
Life
Sounds
is
like
hard.
a personal problem. Life is rough.
So hard.
Let's move on to the next sketch, because this is arguably one of my favorite sketches that's ever taken place on SNL.
Yes.
Celebrity Jeopardy with Will Ferrell. Good God, this is perfect.
It's my favorite.
Why is it your favorite, Kelly?
I don't know. I just love Sean Connery being a dick and reading.
So good.
Like, I tried to guess what one he was gonna mess up.
That's
and
not what your mother said last night.
It's not whore ads, you know?
Oh,
Okay, I wrote the same thing. When they read all of the titles, I'm looking to see,
Which
because
one
the
he's
original one was therapist, he said, I'll take the rapist for 800.
yeah.
Or an album cover, anal bum cover.
Anal bum cover.
One of my
So
favorites.
good.
And I'm watching them
Famous
thinking,
titties. Sorry.
yeah, which one is he
Yeah.
going to? I did not see horror ads or lit tits now. Did you guys didn't see them either, correct?
No, not at all.
not.
Oh my
I couldn't get past what is it? The thing start like the letter G or something. It's just the stupidest thing ever.
Letters that start with a G.
Yeah,
State your name.
literally just have to
What
state their name.
Will
So-
Ferrell
Is
the
my life.
greatest straight man ever in these Jeopardy scenes.
How
He
do you
doesn't
not
break ever.
ever?
Yeah.
I wrote
So
that his
brilliant.
silences were so, and his timing for the lookaways were perfect.
Yeah.
Ugh, that man.
I'm not a girl. I have a mustache
Dash on my face. Did you write that down? I did write that down to
and
scene.
scene. Okay. I did write that down because I love that line.
There were so many wonderful impressions too, and I know we talked about a couple episodes ago they tried to do Jeopardy, and it was just like there were terrible impressions, and we're like, why'd they even
Family
bother?
Feud. That's what it
That's
right?
what it was. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that
it
was bad.
So,
It was
yeah.
just bad, and then you see this, and you're like, "Oh boy, this is a brilliant sketch," and they're
It's the top of the
amazing
mountain.
performers.
What was your favorite impersonation in this?
Justin Bieber is always my favorite.
it's
She
good.
does that so well. It's scary.
I have to be honest, I'm glad they didn't continue with it and that they replaced, like, Taron Killam came in as Christoph
Yeah.
Waltz, because I love the Bieber thing, but if you overplay it, it loses its value for other sketches, and they can still use it this season, especially because
Yeah.
he's going to get roasted here in March with Kevin Hart. So
yeah.
obviously they're going to do a sketch about that when it comes on.
Yeah.
I like though that they kept switching it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
And they had, you knew they had to bring in, my favorite is Norm
Turd
Macdonald,
Ferguson?
Burt Reynolds, Turd Ferguson.
Yeah.
That's the best guest. And it's funny because it's big. I found this hat backstage. It's funny because it's big. He threw it on his head. You have to. You knew that was coming. I didn't see it at first. So I'm like, okay, what's gonna happen?
I didn't like have any idea that I thought Jim Carrey did the most perfect Matthew McConaughey
You're
in
right.
the world.
That was
he
a
just
great one.
hosted doing the making fun of the ads, and it
Yeah.
was so good.
And then he killed Keenan as the State Farm "You're in Good Hands" guy. Yeah, they did like a
Yes.
montage double thing there. It was great. This was even better than the one he did on the night he hosted for Jim Carrey
I think so.
as Matthew McConaughey. And he said, "I just remembered I left my Lincoln running, but oddly enough, I
The
still."
voiceover bit?
voice-
Yes!
Yes.
That's right. I was like, where have I written that? Voiceover. That was. Did you record a voiceover for that?
Yeah.
Free will is an illusion, and life is a game that plays us.
Oh my gosh.
so good.
So good.
The best. I think that was like my favorite thing of the night. I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah.
my favorites, but that like
Every bit of it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked that. I felt like I was really disappointed with the Jim Carrey episode as a whole. So for him to come in and have great timing for this, I really like that
Yeah, he
because
did a
I
great
love that
job.
man.
I thought it was interesting they brought in Keenan as Cosby.
Oh yeah.
Making his favorite cocktail.
so good.
We filmed this in June.
Yeah, did you hear that? I think people might have missed that because I was laughing so hard from something else. I think just from the fact that he was there about to make a cocktail.
cocktail.
Yeah.
Was it Will Ferrell that said that? We filmed this in June.
Oh, yeah. That's
we
a
filmed this
mistake, an
back in
oversight. We filmed that back in June.
I like that too because I don't think they may have any jokes about Bill Cosby. They didn't have any like Weekend Update or anything jokes about him.
They did do a joke. Well, they did do a couple Bill Cosby things right when it came out.
Yeah.
Now it's gotten so serious that you kind of just shy away from it and go another
And
direction.
Keenan does a great Cosby. Like he's been doing it since when he was on All That back in the day, man.
It
Also-
didn't make me cringe. It just was like Keenan being Bill Cosby,
Yeah. It
was
and they did it so quickly.
Yeah, it was short
in the
enough.
right way where they addressed something funny and let it go.
I
and
can't think
it
of a
was
more
okay.
tasteful way they could have done it.
Yes.
that was
The
fun.
right amount of wrong, you know?
Yes,
The right amount of wrong.
That's
I like
great.
that, Kelly.
I like that.
into the next thing as we see Pete Davidson and Leslie Jones come up on stage. They talk about auditioning on that very stage. I want to talk about this now since we see two current cast members come out, Pete Davidson and Leslie Jones, both fresh cast members this season. Pete Davidson, the youngest cast member on SNL, I think, ever.
No, Anthony Michael Hall.
That's right. You brought that up before. But currently he's the youngest on the cast, and then Leslie Jones, who's a writer, now an official cast member. Both stand-ups, and I thought this was really interesting that we see them too, but there's some that we didn't see. Like, we didn't see Beck Bennett tonight.
Yeah.
We saw Sashir for a second. We saw Jay Farrow for a second. But, like, there's some current people that are heavy.
Colin Jost.
We barely saw 80. So I thought it was really interesting who they chose to come out and do this.
They didn't even show Cecily during the Weekend Update thing.
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to get to when we get to the Weekend Update. I just thought that was interesting. Yeah. Do you guys have any theories as to why they chose who they chose when they chose them?
I don't know. I think they chose Pete maybe because he's from New York and his dad was a firefighter. I don't know if they are biased like that.
If they're going to do that, I thought they would tie it in. The reason I think they chose Pete, my theory is because when you see Pete, he's so raw. He gives you an accurate depiction of what they actually feel. Because he even kind of choked on stage, and I think he alluded to it. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said, I'm nervous even as I am standing here now.
Yeah, he said, my audition was the most nervous I've ever been, well, except for maybe now.
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's right. Which gives me a real... I feel like that raw side of him kind of makes me feel included with the nerves they're feeling on stage.
Well, and I think they have to encompass all of the 40 years, and that's the people in the very first year and the people who started 6 months ago. You know, to show the journey of SNL, like where people and being Steve Martin and walking on stage and having such poise versus being someone who's still like, I'm just trying to keep my job. Like, my boss is in the audience watching me.
So they go through these audition process, and I think that any SNL fan or any fan of the people that have been on the show, it was cool to see some of these original clips. I have to wonder, tell me what you guys think. Because a lot of times when you audition, like we all live in LA, we all audition for things, and these audition tapes are private. They don't get out.
Oh my goodness.
But now, seeing these, they have to get permission. Wouldn't you think?
A lot of these, you could find them on YouTube, and some of them are on the best of DVDs.
But they've only been released with that person's permission.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
you
would assume,
I think
correct?
So.
I do not want some of my auditions out there.
Me?
Ask me for permission.
Yeah. But I mean, it was very cool to see. I love the insight. I mean, that's priceless footage.
Yeah.
I don't know who was my favorite. I think Jimmy Fallon's. I'm such a huge fan of him anyways.
Like
but watching,
baby.
he does. Like his jawline's different. He's 30, 40 pounds lighter. It's
crazy.
so interesting to see. But you still know that it's Jimmy. You still knew that it was Will. And even like the Will Ferrell, the Get Off the Shed, which is
so good.
It's the best thing I think on his and he does even like the little.
What was he playing? Kind of thing.
You need to watch this.
Ever just playing with the ball of strings. Oh my God. Just a cat.
It makes zero sense.
Entertaining.
It's brilliant. But
I want that man in my life.
And that shed thing he started at Groundlings, I think.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited. I'm actually have my first Groundlings audition next Monday, thanks to Kimberly Crossman.
We're all in different stages at the Groundlings.
Yeah, which is cool. So let's move on to the next thing here. Robert De Niro takes the live stage, talking about the tradition of having SNL in New York City, which I'm really glad they did this because it's such a huge part of the show, and it got to a part that was a big part of the show, the 9/11, when that happened. Yeah. And a lot of people wondered how they were going to take it on, and they did it in such a good, tasteful way, bringing on the firefighters, having, Alicia Keys sing her famous New York song, which was kind of topical at the time. It was cool to see, and when you think of New York, think of Robert De Niro, even though he biffed his lines like 3 times.
Well, yeah, I wrote like he seemed off or drunk or disinterested.
He's Robert De Niro.
He's really shy, I think.
He is, I've heard that.
Yeah.
I thought maybe he didn't bring his glasses. That was
he was a little like this.
He just probably
but then again, he does that.
Words
he kind of does that.
It's a good
I don't know. Like, it's good. You're so good at impressions.
And scene.
I don't know. I guess I feel a little disappointed when like people know they're gonna do something that's a huge deal and then they fall flat.
For me, when
for 2 lines, I don't know. I didn't know. I didn't feel compassion towards them. I was like, oh.
But I also wasn't
3 lines, and they're in front of you.
Okay, Christopher Walken says Kanye instead of Kanye.
That's
Steve
funny.
Martin flubs 3 lines because I think when you get a certain age,
you can do whatever
it's a little more passable. Betty White didn't have a California accent, but no one cared.
Yeah,
it's Betty White.
It's freaking Betty White. Exactly.
Okay.
So when they get to that level, for me, Well, no, this is not coming at you. I'm saying, for me, it's a little passable. I wasn't mad that he flubbed his biggest line, which I can't even remember what it was right now, but he flubbed it. And he still did. And the audience still applauds. It's Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Sure. And I'm just saying, like, I think when you look at, versus Steve Martin, they're capable of doing it.
He hosted SNL like 13 times. He's done this like the back of his hand. He knows it.
It's probably different being a part of the cast too, because that's your home.
Yeah.
Like,
he's never been a cast member though. Steve Martin.
No, it's just crazy. He's involved so much in...
Everybody thinks he is, but he's never been.
Which is it's a mirage. But it's crazy to think about.
It's a mirage.
Okay, I'm sorry, Robert De Niro. Take it back.
No, you're good. Let's
But I liked it a lot, though, because I'm from New Jersey, and it made me miss home.
Oh, yeah, you did say that.
Represent.
And, good times.
Next, we see Keith Richards come out and introduce Paul McCartney, and then we hear Paul McCartney sing, which is always great. I don't think anybody can knock that, but let's move on to the next
Wish it was an
sketch.
upper, though.
You wish what?
It was like a bigger song, like or a Beatles song, because that was Wings. But
yeah, but it's almost like I didn't want to see that because we've seen that, so I wanted to see a little more of just Paul McCartney's thing because which it was. And then we see Jack Nicholson come in and introduce 40 years of political humor at SNL.
Kelly was very
You were so
excited.
excited. Kelly, why were you so excited to see Jack Nicholson?
I just love Jack Nicholson
Why?
so much.
What's your affinity?
He's just the coolest person in the world. Like, he could show up drunk with sunglasses on, do whatever. Like, just...
So basically a Lakers game, got it?
Yeah. No, but whenever he does the Oscars, he
Thank
introduces...
You. That's courtesy.
He does the best movie thing, and he just does whatever.
Yeah.
He could do whatever he wants. He's the coolest guy.
I love that you wanted to see him because you were afraid he was dead.
Yeah, that's why I was laughing. I was
like, what has he been doing?
Well, because he usually does the best movie at the Oscars, and he missed last year. So I was like, oh my God, is he
My
okay?
favorite person is gone? No, he's still
here.
okay.
He was probably down the street having a drink and was like, I don't want to go anymore.
Yeah.
He's Jack Nicholson.
That's true.
But this brought up a very interesting question for me, watching the people who did presidents.
Yeah.
I forgot, I wrote two things, and I want to say them, and then I want to ask you both your opinions, all of your opinions. But I forgot how good Dana Carvey was at doing
so good.
doing doing Bush, and then doing the Ross Perot even. But when he does I have to say this, because my sister actually texted me this tonight because she didn't realize why my dad always said this, but I grew up and my dad always did this impression where he would go, not gonna do it, wouldn't be prudent. He did it all the time, and I never knew what it was from until I saw Dana Carvey do it, and then my sister realized it tonight.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting, but watching it, I forgot how good he was at that. And then seeing, obviously, Will Ferrell as Bush, for me, and I want you guys to all go around and answer this, he's my favorite, he's my favorite character that's done a president. He was my favorite out of anybody that's ever done a president. He's my favorite.
I like Dana Carvey. Well, Dana Carvey's like one of my favorite cast members.
Yeah.
So I like him. I like both Bushes though too.
I loved him doing Gerald Ford.
Yeah, because he looks nothing like Gerald Ford.
Just him
and just does pratfalls.
Well, there's that one specific one, him doing the I don't know, he's so funny. His voice, I'm a big fan of Dana Carvey too, and my dad was always doing Dana Carvey impressions
Chevy
too
Chase
for my dad.
Wait, are you talking about Dana Carvey doing Gerald? Or it was
No.
Chevy.
Are you talking about Phil Hartman as Reagan?
I've lost myself in my brain. What's happened?
Come back.
What about you, Kimberly?
Oh, Will Ferrell, without a doubt. That man is my life. And
That man is my life, and you want to call him daddy.
well, what's the word that he says? The one word to that.
Strategery.
Thank you.
Strategery. And he's like, I gotta go brainificate. Like he says, he just made up words as Bush, which is
So good.
brilliant. Let's move on to the next one, which I know you guys flipped. The Californians. in the last, I'm gonna go 10 years. One of the top 3 sketches I think they've done.
I don't know. I like it, but like how they were saying with Eddie Murphy, he's only done one of like Rick James or whatever, and you remember that so well. The Californians, they kind of beat to death a lot. So
I never was mad when the Californians came on. I always got excited.
When I first saw that sketch, I didn't love it. I'll be honest. It took me a bit to be like, yeah, it's funny.
Did you live in LA when you first saw it?
Well, yeah, I get the humor.
Yeah.
I do, but it's never really been one of my favorite sketches. I don't know why.
Really?
I think it's just so obvious to me.
I
enjoyed watching it today, but...
Well, if you look at the sketches that they gave a lot of time to are some of the more popular sketches, like the Celebrity Jeopardy.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if that means fans gave it a lot of traction. I mean, why do you think
I think it's a really popular sketch, and a lot of people like it.
It was
just not
long,
my favorite.
that one.
It was extremely
They just
long.
kept
It was like
adding and piling on.
6 different segments with a really weird tag on the end of it that I didn't understand.
Yeah, let's get to the tag, but before we do, let's talk about, so we have Bradley Cooper as the pool boy.
He was great.
He was great, but he had a terrible Californian accent. You couldn't even understand what he was saying.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't know if I wrote some of the lines
So
down.
did Taylor Swift. She sounded
He's a
slightly Russian.
Nobody liked Taylor Swift either. Nobody applauded for her.
But her Californian accent was better than Bradley's.
Not as good as
Russian
Kerry
to me.
Washington. What?
Taylor Swift sounded almost like she was going into a deep Russian accent to me.
Something.
Really?
Like it was going like so far back into her voice. That it
She
was
did. She threw her
almost
voice.
like every once in a while sounding sort of Eastern European.
Sounds like there's something in her mouth, I feel like.
Yeah.
And then we get to see something iconic. I know you loved this, Kimberly.
Kerry Washington.
No. The kiss.
Betty White.
Yes. The kiss.
I love that.
Did you? Why?
I don't know. I think it's funny seeing Bradley Cooper kiss Betty White. That's funny.
Betty White is awesome.
I want to see her kiss everyone, and then I realized she has kissed a lot of people on that show.
Well, then they made the joke later, which we'll
That
get to
she's
with
a-
Adam Sandler, that everybody that's there is going to get laid.
That's what I wrote down with that.
What was the weird bit at the end?
This flight attendant
Flight
sketch.
attendant.
Tell us why, Kelly.
It's a really funny. David Spade plays like a douchey flight attendant that just is like, all right, nice, goodbye now, goodbye. So I guess they, instead of putting it on a flight to make another set, they're just like, all right, since there's a lot of people in this sketch, we'll just do it that way.
Clever, but it didn't fit.
I kind of liked it. I liked because Cecily kind of was like, well, this is the only way he could have been on the show. That's why they're doing this. Kind of like that was the justification to have
A
it.
facilitating justification.
Yeah. I thought it was funny because I like David Spade. I think he's underrated. But yeah.
I found it weird that they made time to intro. They're like, and Bradley Cooper, and da-da-da. When they'd just been there, like, I felt like there was, like, a handbrake on it a little bit. And
Yeah.
Taylor Swift
It felt like a
moved,
handbrake
like,
for me.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Well, and then
Why-
the Bradley Cooper, David Spade interaction was awkward, and I can't put my finger on why. It almost felt like there was a personal. Not that they were going to flesh it out on TV, but they almost felt like there was like a personal beef there. Like David Spade wanted to show him up.
I think that's the whole point, though, to make them feel awkward. I don't know. You have to watch the sketches with it, and it's funny.
Okay.
I remember seeing it. I don't remember it enough for it to be memorable, if that makes sense.
It's the most memorable David Spade thing, aside from the Hollywood Minute when he was on Update.
For me, it's still when anything he did
Or
with
the
Chris Farley.
Gap. Yeah, well, yeah, but you can't do the Gap Girls, or, you know.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Okay, so the next thing we see, which is a very important part of the show, is Weekend Update, and they give they show a lot of clips of old people. They bring back Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, and Jane Kirkland. Curtin. What did I say? Kirkland? Mm-hmm. Oh, I was typing really fast.
Costco. No.
Costco. And Jane Curtin. What did you guys think of this?
I love that it was the ladies at the desk,
Yeah.
personally, and Amy and Tina, once they were on the desk together, were my favorite.
Well, that's what's going to be my next question. Who's your favorite combo or singular person that was ever on the desk?
I did like Jimmy Fallon and
too.
Tina Fey before it was ever Tina and Amy, but that rolling, like, those three were my favorite.
Yeah, me too.
What about you, Kelly? Kelly,
The
Kimberly.
combo of, like,
I'm looking at Kelly.
Amy and Tina is my favorite thing ever. So I think it's great that they've continued that.
You guys.
We feel like we are Amy Poehler and Tina Fey. We want to be the next Amy Poehler and Tina Fey.
No, you guys could be that. Absolutely, I can see that.
Thank you, Daniel.
Don't cry yet. Nobody's giving
We
you a word
agree.
yet. Get there. You'll get there.
No, but I think, so of course, whenever they're together,
Yeah.
that makes me
It's
very
gold.
happy.
I would love to see a show from them two someday.
They're
Yeah.
going to be in a movie together called
Sisters.
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 And they did Baby Mama.
They did do Baby Mama, which is great. It was going on one of those movies that kept on like this. You guys know how much of a fan I am of Jimmy Fallon. I talk about it all the time. But my favorite ever was Seth and Amy together. Their brand of humor and the way they wrote jokes and delivered them, I think they played off each other. For me, it was my favorite chemistry-wise.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Seth Meyers fan.
Okay, fair.
But I wanted, I love Jimmy, too. I wish they had him do a guitar or something.
Yeah. I'm glad they had the Fabergé eggs joke in there, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cars running on Fabergé eggs. It's always one of my favorites.
I wrote a note down that if Melissa McCarthy was yelling at me, I would have to break. Like, the fact that they could sit there when
She
she's
did.
yelling at them, and then she breaks the table with a belly flop. Like, but they didn't break, and then she gets eaten by a real shark. Like, there were a couple of moments where I was like, I, as a human, could not have her yelling at me and be okay.
Yeah. I have to say this because we're getting tweets. I got a tweet from user at JigaJRich that he says he agrees about the awkward thing, by the way, that we just talked about between Bradley Cooper. I almost said Pooper. That's an awesome stage name. Bradley Cooper, ladies and gentlemen, an American Sniper. That he goes, I got you, bang, bang, that there was awkward. So thanks for tweeting in. That's always we love to see that. So tweet in with us, guys. But back to where we're at. What did you guys think of Emma Stone as Roseanne, who are doing a Roseanne thing?
I did like the idea, though, of the people impersonating their favorites.
Yeah.
Like Matt Foley, Melissa McCarthy's Matt Foley was so funny.
Oh, so good.
And Edward Norton Stefan.
Yes,
that was great.
It's a TP for my secret.
That was the best. I wrote that down too. That was the best.
We write the same notes.
We do write the same notes.
We need to sit further apart.
And then
he's copying me.
I did love the shark at the end. They referenced it, and then the shark that swallows Tina Fey.
Don't open the door. There's a shark out.
Yeah, little details like that for me are what make the thinking process.
Made it complete.
But again, and you mentioned this earlier, Katie, they skipped Cecily Strong when they went through the entire montage.
That was
Why?
really strange to me.
Theories, why?
I don't know, Dan.
It's almost like, because they never really announced or talked about why, it's almost like there's something we don't know. But she's still in the cast, so she can't have done something wrong.
I think she didn't want to be on Weekend Update. She wanted to be more characters.
Yeah.
So maybe she's like, nah, it's cool. I don't have to be a part of this Update.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's a good. It's not like it's a bad blood thing. Okay. I don't really know.
I still think they would honor her.
I didn't see much of her throughout the entire show, though. When I think about it, like I saw a lot of Kate in different clips, and even some of the boys from
Good Neighbor.
Yeah, but I just didn't see a lot of Cecily.
She was in the flight attendant thing.
Yeah, she was in the flight attendant thing. She got more than Beck Bennett got.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
It's interesting. Okay, so now we have Norm introducing Chevy Chase, which was weird.
Well, because he was the start of, Norm is always weird. Yeah.
But like you were saying this, he just is like a little goofy.
Oh, yeah.
now.
Flighty, yeah.
It was just like, Seth was just laughing. It was weird.
Yeah, it just was slightly off.
It's just how he is now. I feel like he kind of went off the deep end.
But
with
you could
his brain.
see he wasn't even looking at the cue cards. He was kind of just saying whatever came to his head.
Yeah.
He's like,
I was waiting for someone to call him out, like, hurry up. Like, I didn't.
I want to ask something, because then when Chevy Chase came on stage, why did they have Garrett yelling everything? Was that a previous sketch?
They didn't. They showed the clips earlier, and they showed the earlier one when he was on, and it was in the original thing. Like, it was just him yelling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think I missed that. I mean, I knew there had to be something, but I didn't know what the original
It was like
play was.
A bit, yeah.
And you said he's the most successful out of the original cast now.
I don't think
at this current time,
right now he's
in the spotlight.
He's working.
He's on
still doing
Two Broke Girls.
Two Broke Girls.
And everybody forgets about him.
Yeah. I mean,
I'll never
Chevy
forget.
was on Community for a while, though.
But then he got himself fired because he's a dick.
Also, shout out to A_Mitz9, who just said that she has to agree with you guys. Tina and Amy was her favorite Weekend Update.
Yeah.
Hello.
And so far, Jeopardy is her favorite. Also, Anna Rich Banana says she agrees that Amy and Seth were her favorite Weekend Update combo.
Well, at least we're all Team Amy.
Yeah.
Here is Amy
She's the
Fuller.
common thread.
Yeah.
Glue.
Okay, so next we see Martin Short come on and talk about the best singers and performers, and he only hosted once. That kind of shocked me. I forgot that.
Yeah.
And he was a cast member for a year.
And then he only hosted once.
Yeah, it's weird.
That is weird. But again, and who is it that one of you three said, right when he said Beyonce was there, you said Maya. Who was it that said that?
Oh, was it you?
Kelly nailed that Maya was coming out.
Gosh.
It's so good. She held it for so long.
So
too.
long. That combo
So
of those
good.
two together was oddly awesome.
Yeah. With the wind, and he was like,
That was so good.
That was the best part of it. That's a Vine video. That's an Instagram video.
Yeah.
That's a shareable BuzzFeed thing. That Martin Short fighting Beyonce's Wind will be a headline
So good.
tonight and tomorrow.
He's so good. Like, he's somebody that he never stops being funny, you know? He's still always, like, a timeless type of comedy.
Funny.
He just had a book come out this last year. Yeah.
I know, I want to read it.
What was the name of it again? It's his head is the O in the bottom word. I saw it at the airport
I don't know.
this week.
It's his autobiography, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
It's like My Life Loud, or it's something along those lines. Because I saw he was actually on Fallon talking about it. Go figure. I watched the episode. So then they have Maya Rudolph as Beyonce, and then they have Garth and Kat. We get a Garth and Kat cameo in the front row.
I want to do that.
I do too. It's way harder than it looks. Then you take the left side, put it on your right ear. It's hard to do.
I thought that was really good.
What I love
always make me laugh.
You actually did a really good job. Better than I expected you to see what I'm saying, Kimberly.
It's not good enough anymore.
And scene. What I loved about those two in the front row was right behind them, you saw 3 or 4 people that we didn't know who they were, watching them with wide-eyed bewilderment, laughing. Organically, like authentically laughing.
Oh, yeah.
That's so cool for us. We don't get to see it. Usually they're at the Weekend Update desk. You know, now we just saw them however many episodes ago do this.
Yeah.
And that's cool, but watching in the audience, they're laughing with them. I felt like a little kid because that's how I giggle watching them.
Yeah. Pennsylvania.
Well, and they always break too, which I love.
It's
and
the best part.
You can't not. That's so perfect.
So good. Then
are they teachers on a gas iron? Will Ferrell doing that?
Before we talk about that, I want to just shout these out because people are still tweeting with us, which thank you. We asked you guys to do this, so I want to shout you guys out. Jacob J. Rich also says he heard Chevy Chase is mean, right? The people on Community said that he can be uptight. Yeah. Who was it that said they have a personal story about this a little bit?
Well, Dan, he left an angry voicemail with Dan Harmon, the creator of Community, and Dan Harmon played it for his show because he's a show, Harmontown.
Wow.
And
I've heard that he was not very welcoming to
when he
his
hosted.
Female cast members. Is like
just
he
said
people
some
who have
derogatory
known
things.
People who were in SNL.
Yeah. When he was on it, he was fine, I think. But he's only on it for a year, actually. He wasn't on 5 years like the others. And
yeah, he's on the first season, right?
Yeah. When he came back to host, he was really mean to the girls and the one.
Yeah, he said some really inappropriate things, which we don't need to say on the show.
Nope.
Also, Did You Ranger 1994, great username handle, by the way, said that Garrett was Weekend Update's news for the hard of hearing translator, so he would just yell everything that the Weekend Update people said. So that's awesome.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you for the clarifications. Back to Martin Short. We had then we saw you called it Will Ferrell and Gas Dyer, and that they did it. It's on the Best of Will Ferrell DVD, but where they are like motivational speakers in middle schools, and they sing these songs, but they're current songs with their twist.
So good.
So they did Uptown Funk, and they did Meghan Trainor's All About That Bass.
Turn down for what?
Yep.
Turn down for what? For what? It's so good.
And then we see Joe. How do you say his last name?
Piscopo.
Jersey
represent.
And then Dana Carvey as Derek Stevens doing the Talking Broccoli. People don't even. I think that for Dana Carvey, there's people that get it. You either get it or you don't, because he kind of like did this at the end, like guys, I'm done. Laugh. That's funny. Yeah. What more do you want from me?
No, I think they left him on camera too long. He's like, that was it.
Oh, I took it as like, okay, clap. Like you guys missing this? I'm singing a song about Talking Broccoli. And then we see Adam Sandler, Opera Man.
Yes.
Who I hope Adam wrote that. Yeah, reunion. With the little white thing.
Reunion.
Why did he have the white thing? Is that just his Opera Man?
He just has it, and he usually does that for a Weekend Update too, or did it? But yeah, that's what
I loved seeing Adam Sandler on there. And then Keenan's What's Up With That, which we did see in the background. We saw Sashir and who was the other girl? It's two current cast members dancing. It was Sashir and I think it might have been Cecily.
Yeah, I think it was Cecily.
And then we saw Jason Sudeikis pop in an Adidas tracksuit.
He had some good dance moves. I know he was like he was doing like the Running Man and like some
but like really well.
Grapevines
and a lot of energy.
He always does that though in the bit. That's what's funny.
It's good. Yeah, he's great.
And Steve Martin, who Alexis was very excited to see Steve Martin doing his King Tut.
Yes.
He just popped out. It was like 42 seconds of Steve Martin as King Tut.
It's all you needed though, because it was so great. And then he gets back into it and you're like satisfied.
And then this is the first time I realized Paul Schaefer was there. We see Paul Schaefer and Bill Murray as Nick Ocean singing the theme song from Jaws.
That was the best part of the musical set.
Yeah.
Was it for you?
Oh yeah.
I think so.
Why?
It was just...
I'm not saying it was bad. I just want to know why.
Bill Murray is amazing always, but I just thought it was so funny, him singing it so passionately, this
very
love
passionate
song with the shot of Jaws, and they had that one shot on repeat with him biting onto the boat and then they panning out, and like, it just was using it so emotionally and so seriously, like, why?
Yeah.
Why did you leave me like this? I thought it was perfect. I loved it.
straight into Blues Brothers, Jim Belushi and Dan Aykroyd. And then they cut to a live shot of the audience. This is where I referenced earlier. It was when they came back right before Chris Rock goes on. They cut to and they show people getting up and they're saying hi to people 6 rows behind them and waving at people across the way. And you get this real sense of like, gosh, everyone is there.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just
it felt alive too. I think often in award shows, if it were comparing it to that, like you kind of see, it's flat, but it felt really alive and energetic, which makes you feel like, oh, cool, like it's a cool place to be.
People are tweeting and saying this episode is the first SNL that felt live multiple times because of the awkwardness. Yeah. And I know that happens sometimes where you don't see too many fails because they usually have the production, the rehearse, they don't have as much to fit in. Yeah. But I get that it did. I agree. User at Jigga Rich.
Yeah. I guess in that way, like, fails can be a kind of wonderful reminder of this is live, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing.
Absolutely.
I've never thought of it that way, so that's really interesting.
Yeah. Next, we see something that was really cool for the show, for us. It's Chris Rock coming on and introducing Eddie Murphy with a brilliant introduction.
Yeah. And a standing ovation,
And a standing ovation. What did you guys think of this? Because I thought it was really moving.
This was the thing that that I said I didn't like in the beginning. There's
Tell everybody why.
I loved Chris Rock's intro because it amped you up, and it's so true. Like, there's never going to be another Eddie Murphy, and he only did these characters once, but they're so standout. Yeah. But then he came out and he's like, thanks, enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Do stand up. Do your bit. Like, be funny. That's why we fell in love with you. Be funny, please.
Yeah. But I think it does say a lot that he came on, that he was involved. That's like an olive branch making peace. I'm included. I'm associating myself with the show again.
Yeah, because people weren't even sure that he would come back on. I know we had that conversation before.
I was wrong.
I think it's a huge deal. No, it's good. But I mean, the fact that people who you're a huge SNL fan, you know a ton of stuff about SNL. You are a true watcher of the show.
Thanks.
And you really didn't think you would. So for people like you, because there's a lot of you out there, like myself, like us, obviously, and those people that are listening now, that was a surprise for us. It's cool to see. Yeah. So I think even that, for me, is worth it.
You just wanted him to deliver something.
Yeah, because it feels slightly anticlimactic. But I've seen him do this a couple times where he has a stage to do something and he doesn't, and I'm not entirely sure what it is.
There was like a whole
to me.
Maybe they need to pay him more than $400 to perform.
God, you know how much I would have given to see them do like a Clumps sketch with Eddie Murphy, like the Nutty Professor.
My gosh. I thought he was going to come out and perform something musically, and I was a little disappointed that he didn't, because he just, when he's on stage singing and being a character, like, it just feels like there's fire
electric,
on stage.
Right?
Yeah. You can't stop watching.
He could have done Ebony and Ivory with Joe Piscopo, because it was Frank Sinatra and Stevie Wonder. They did that bit.
Let's keep going, because we're going to try and squeeze the rest of it in. So Derek Jeter, we see Derek Jeter and Peyton Manning introducing 40 years of sports on SNL, which they're both great. Derek played a lot of great characters. I did love Peyton's. There's a little more recent, saying he pegged that 8-year-old kid in the head.
That
He's
was
like,
hilarious.
That last short was so funny.
I forgot how good that. Yeah, when he did that short, that was, and he told the kid, he's like, okay, get the F out of here. Like, that was so great. And then they go into, and this is what Will said they added last minute, that he was telling us last night, they added last minute, that he flew out just to do this 90-second thing with Jason Sudeikis where they do the ESPN outro. I forgot how funny it is, where it's all sexual references. Like, he pretends like he's talking about his...
And he's so serious about it, which is so nice. Like, oh, you're asking me that? Well, it actually hangs slightly to the left.
It's curved to the left. Yeah.
So good.
I liked their blinking. I don't know why I wrote that. Maybe there was a lot of blinking at the end or something.
That's because Will is really good at doing his awkward look, blink, hold your face, hold your awkward smile with the mustache.
Can you tell him I enjoyed his blinking?
Well, yeah. We'll watch this tomorrow. He's probably enjoying
My notes make me laugh.
Next thing we see is Miley Cyrus with her acoustic song. I didn't actually catch the title, what the song was.
They don't really say, do they?
Yeah, tweet us if you guys know. I don't know if it was a new song or what it was.
Great, though. Her voice was banging.
Yeah.
And Fred Armisen on the tambourine. Hello.
Yeah, that was cool.
Awesome. And then we see a crowd shot again into Jerry Seinfeld, joking that I thought this was actually really clever and timely. It's something you'd see someone do on if Jerry was the guest this week, the host, he would have done a joke about Brian Williams. How are they going to do it? Because Brian's an NBC family member, so do they punch him in the gut while he's down? Do they love on him? This was a cool way of doing it. He jokes that Brian Williams was one of the original cast members in 1975, which obviously wasn't. Yeah. But it's the play on because of the story of Brian Williams. Did you guys like that?
Yeah. I thought it was funny.
okay?
I didn't have a real opinion on it, if I'm being honest. I just kind of like let that one slide.
Yeah, I heard you laugh really loud, so I was like, ha ha ha.
Well, I did because Brian Williams obviously is loved by NBC. He's a big part of it. He goes on Fallon all the time. He did Slow Jamming the News with Brian Williams.
Yeah.
He's a huge part of it, and he's done a lot of stuff with SNL. You saw in the audition tapes he auditioned for SNL, and there's rumors that he
I
even
didn't see that.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that one.
Yeah, he was in the audition tapes. There's rumors, a story just came out recently that he actually wanted Jay Leno's seat instead of Jimmy. So, like, it's just this interesting stuff with Brian. So
He hosted SNL once, too.
Yeah, he's a huge member of the NBC family. So I thought that was a cool way of not punching him, but making kind of like a fun joke.
Yeah.
Okay.
And showing that, like, hey, we love you still. Because he'll come back and earn our trust back.
Yeah.
And then we see all these people stand up and ask questions. I'm going to list them off and then tell me if there's any you love. Michael Douglas, John Goodman, James Franco, Larry David, Ellen Claiborne, Dakota Johnson, who drops that she's hosting in a couple weeks from, you guys saw it last night.
Yeah.
50 Shades of Grey. Tim Meadows, Bob Odenkirk, Sarah Palin. I didn't know Bob Odenkirk was one of the writers.
Yeah.
Which Better Call Saul just debuted last week.
You
Him and
started
David
watching
Cross.
it, right?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go.
Yeah, I started watching Better Call Saul tonight, but I didn't realize he was a writer.
Yeah, him and David Cross did, because they do Mr. Show together. It was like a comedy show, and they were kind of writers.
The show was great.
Yeah. Just for like a year, I think. I'm not sure about.
I picked up that Spielberg was sitting next to Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
so I'm
that
like,
was so funny.
I wonder if they'll be doing business. You know what I mean? I was
Probably.
like, that's interesting.
I really enjoyed Larry David and Sarah Palin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is Sarah Palin makes the joke. She teases about running for president with Donald Trump, and you noticed Donald Trump in the audience, Kimberly.
Oh, my gosh.
But, like, why did they not pan over and Donald be like, just shake his head or be like, no, you know what? You're fired now. I'm running. You make some joke
Because
that's.
he was seated too far up in the
Those cameras can pan up there. That's a gap where I would have liked to see something little like that.
I like the banter, too, with Larry and Jerry.
It was so
great.
enjoyable to watch.
And Ellen Cleghorn was funny. What did she say about why is there no black women?
Yeah.
No, anywhere.
No, yeah.
funny.
She was very funny.
She reminds me of an old school Sashir, who's a current cast. Sashir.
Yeah.
Sashir's got a little more flair to her, but she's kind of got like the slow blink, like, okay, cool.
That was
Whatever she did.
She used to be on SNL, that's why.
Shout out to Did You Ranger 1994, who said the name of Miley's song, by the way, is 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. It's actually Paul Simon's song. Miley performed and Paul attended, so she was like doing a shout out to Paul Simon, which is makes me like it even more. That's really cool.
It was
So,
really great.
thank you for that tweet. Into the next thing, which I know we're moving quick, guys. We just want to make sure we touch on everything. Mom jeans. She'll love the 9-inch zipper and pleats.
Always
The little
good.
mom jeans.
Yes.
So we hadn't seen that, and you guys have seen it, right?
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
How have I not seen that?
I'm not a woman anymore.
It's like,
I'm a
this
mom.
is a sign of giving up mom jeans. Or however
Yeah.
it goes, but it's so brilliant.
Into Alec Baldwin, Tina Fey doing kind of a shout out to Tracy Morgan. Obviously, everybody knows, and if you don't, he was in the car accident. Obviously, wanted to be there. I know that he's had some complications. Expected to make a full recovery, but it was cool that they, their kind of 30 Rock family shouted him out.
Yeah.
Did a little
cute.
impression of
Which, by the way, Alex's impression of Tracy Morgan was
Good.
great.
Yeah.
yeah.
Spot on.
Did he make a line about like hitting on everyone?
He said he wanted to get everybody here pregnant.
That's it. I thought that was really clever. That's funny.
Christopher Walken introduces Kanye. I was a little disappointed we didn't see more Christopher Walken. I'm not going to lie.
Me too.
He's there. He's such a classic figure. I mean, he's got his own best of DVDs. And we see him introduce Kanye, and he says Kanye funny. I mean, granted, he says everything funny. He's Christopher Walken.
How did he say it?
Kanye West.
He didn't even do like a little
Kanye
bit
West.
either. I wanted him to do some little bit. Like, you know
Something.
how Robert De Niro had a little bit of a...
Yeah.
When the lights came up, it looked sort of dark and Halloween-y, and I thought that they were going to do a joke with the like ghosts.
Ghosts.
Amy Poehler would impersonate
Kanye
and be
West.
Like, ghosts. Put him a thing of butter. Whatever it is.
A thing of butter. Yeah. And then Kanye, let's just touch on this real quick. He performs Upside Down, Jesus Walks, which we thought was
He's
interesting.
got crazy eyes.
Crazy Eyes, into Only One, into Wolves with Sia and Vic Mensa, who Alana gave us the name of. We didn't know who he was. Alana's hanging out with us in studio.
Yeah.
Here from New Zealand. She's only visiting for one more week. Hi, Alana. What'd you guys think of this performance? Obviously, Kanye was a little sick.
Yeah. I liked it because, well, he's always a great performer on SNL just because it's visually pleasing. Even if his voice wasn't up to par, it was just like, what's going on? Like, I don't know if I like it, but I don't want to. I want to keep watching it. You know.
Well, it was also the only performance that we actually didn't talk through to discuss things as well. We were like, whoa, weird. I felt like at the beginning I was laughing because I feel like it's always when you're performing on SNL, I'm always like, wait, are they gonna turn it to comedy or whatever? And he's laying on the ground, and he puts his head back. I'm like, ha! Oh no, it's serious.
It was really interesting. But they come back to Zach Galifianakis. Oh, I guess it's two-way. Louis C.K. was first, introducing SNL films. By the way, the Jack Handy, the little thing, the reference, I'm a big Jack Handy, but it was like, my dad always said laughter is the best medicine, which is why most of us died of tuberculosis.
That was so good. I thought Louis C.K. did a really good job of this part. You know, like, he managed to take this tiny bit of time and make it hilarious in his own way. Call out to the fact that the pre-recorded parts are always better than the live parts, which
he told somebody in the audience to shut up.
Hey, shut up. And so,
It's funny because one of our, Steven was like, oh, did they do a live short? Because that's always the best thing. And we're like, fun fact, Louis totally
calls that out. Yeah. We've been doing it wrong for 40 years.
Next thing we see is Zach Galifianakis, who, this was interesting earlier, by the way, when Pete Davidson and Leslie Jones were talking about auditions, the way they introduced the audition tapes, I don't know if you guys caught this, they said, these are some of the auditions from cast members and some people that Lauren maybe should have hired. And one of those people was Zach Galifianakis.
Isn't that crazy?
And I think you see him now and you think it's a no-brainer, but then maybe he wasn't as funny then, maybe he wasn't as comedically awkward.
Well, his comedy's really specific, though, when you watch him and you think of him in movies, like, he does a certain type of thing, like, maybe his place wasn't on SNL just based on what they would have been looking for at the time. Like, he's very funny, but even his stand-up is very specifically Zach. It's, like, him slow, playing the piano, doing, like, weird, short one-liners that take a beat for you to then laugh.
Yeah, to realize, catch up with him.
Take a moment, and so maybe, he's very funny, but maybe just in a different way.
Well, even the fact that he came on with Sia's wig and then makes the joke about, tell me we have the same stylist next time.
Yeah.
That was great. And especially because Sia's topical because she's performed a lot lately. She has a lot of big songs, but then she doesn't show her face. She was there.
Yeah. Called out like a little minion.
Another person, by the way, while we're on the topic, Kevin Hart, who auditioned for SNL but never made the cut. Jim Carrey. Yeah. It's mind-boggling to think some of these people who later now we see their careers. I'm like,
so
good
part
God.
of it too.
Yeah, and well, even Steve Martin. Like, you think he's part of the family. He is.
I did.
I thought he was.
Yeah. Convinced.
And then he introduces
the best part of the show,
which is it's already viral probably while we're talking to you now.
Oh my gosh.
And if you haven't seen it, you have to go look at it. That's When You Break, the new digital short. I'm not gonna lie, the only thing that could have made this better is if Justin Timberlake was in it for me. I was kind of hoping for Justin Timberlake to be in it.
He makes everything better.
He does, but I'm not mad about it. It didn't lose anything. It only would have added. Because Adam Sandler and Andy Samberg, and then we get to see Bill Hader get added to it. That's When You Break. To the tune of
Simply the Best.
Simply the Best. That's When You Break.
Yes.
Oh, Steven and Alexis nailing it back there.
Thank you. So good.
That's When You Break. It's gonna be in my head all week.
So good.
I love the shout out to Lauren in the middle as the bridge. Just the shots of everyone giving tribute.
Lauren.
Great.
They give a lot of shout outs because later we'll see more shout outs to Lauren. My favorite part though, because when they start talking about people that break.
Oh yeah.
When you guys think of people that break, who do you think of before Fallon? Do you think of anybody else?
Nope.
No.
Just
Jimmy Fallon?
You think of Jimmy Fallon.
But Jimmy Fallon and Horatio Sands together. Like, you can't.
And they did it 5 times in this song, and you thought maybe 2 is funny, 3 is funny, okay, 4 is really funny. 5 of them.
It'll remind you of Fallon and Sands.
Yeah, Fallon and Sands. And another one from Fallon and Sands.
The best part.
Moving on to another one.
Moving on to another one from Fallon and Sands.
Lauren.
That's so good. That's going to be on par with one of the best digital shorts that they've done as far as the Andy Samberg related ones that he writes and kind of produces. So this new genre of digital shorts, I guess I should say. And then we go out to Paul Shaffer again playing the piano. They kind of move out and do a little thing, letting him sit in with the band, who was one of the original people. I found out.
Yeah, he started. He was in the band, I think, for the first 5
before
years.
Letterman, and he's coming to his end on Letterman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because Letterman's coming in, so he's got a couple months left in there, and then
Paul Shaffer, what are you gonna gonna do, mate?
Yeah. Or not NBC Family, but coming back to his NBC Family, which is interesting because he's on another network. Bill Murray on the people that we lost and miss. Obviously a hard thing to introduce, and we have 3 things left to talk about, so we're right to the end here.
Great.
Hard thing for him to introduce is the people that we lost and miss on the show.
Yeah.
Especially because him and Gilda had like lots of bits together and they were close.
Yeah, and you could tell he was very somber.
Yeah.
There's no easy way to do that.
They did it the right way. Yeah. I definitely think in a way that, it was emotional, gave tribute, and then the way they ended it was a way
Jon
to
Lovitz.
be like, and now we're back into the funny.
Yeah.
Which was obviously a nice way to plant a seed earlier on so that the gag would play out. I was like, oh, okay.
Some
Waiting for that,
this was great.
Can I actually mention?
Yeah.
I thought that they would do a Robin Williams thing.
Yeah, let's talk about this. I was a little curious
at least mention him. I know he wasn't in the cast, but I know he hosted 3 times.
Yeah, 3
and
times.
he's a
Last time
huge
was in
figure in comedy that
2004 and
I kind
1998.
of thought they would have too, but then also I think it's acceptable that they didn't because he wasn't cast or crew, and I think that's what it was for.
And
But didn't they put some other people up that had hosted? Wasn't there 1 or 2 that's hosted?
Writers,
Not in the
cast,
not in the
I
things?
think is
Okay.
it, yeah.
And he didn't really have like a special character that he did. You know, like what's his face? Andy Kaufman. He did like the Mickey Mouse, the Mighty Mouse thing.
Yeah.
Like we even thought that Steve Martin was a cast member because he had such memorable.
Right, yeah.
Sure.
That's cool. I guess I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah,
I forgot he died for a second. I thought you were like, why didn't he come out? I was like,
Yeah, why didn't he? Where was
it's
he?
a sad thing. I don't know if that was an oversight or I was a little curious as to why. So if you guys, anybody has any insight, please tweet us and let us know. On to the next thing, the Wayans role, Dana Carvey and Mike Myers. This was so good, and I thought it was really cool the way they did it to talk about things and the way they came down to including the crew as the number 1 thing. But let's just talk about them, and you guys can say your favorite of the top 10. Number 10 was Live Show. 9 was a satire. 8 was Saturday Night Dead. 7 was the catchphrases, and then they used some catchphrases. 6 was musical guests. 5, Kanye Sit Down. The 4th best thing about SNL is the opening credits sequence. 3 was the after show orgies, and then into wigs. 2 was Lorne Michaels, another homage to Lorne Michaels, which that was so cool to see. And then number 1, they do the crew, and they get him with the Weird Not Worthy. What was your favorite one?
orgies always, right? No, just kidding.
Crew for me. It was so
cool.
nice to, and again, like pan out and see the audience, but
With the standing ovation, people are loving on them.
and when you look into what goes into Saturday Night Live and how they keep it running, and like even Amy Poehler talks about it in her book, like they've got people stripping them down and doing all this stuff. There's so much work that goes into it. And I think it's really nice to see, they even show the camera guy holding the cue cards, and it just was really nice. It was a good moment.
Yeah.
And that sketch was so high energy and silly and fun, and there's still so much to those characters. It was just really nice to see.
I like the Lorne impression, too, because...
Those are good Lorne impressions.
Well, Dr. Evil is loosely based off of Lorne.
Oh, really? I didn't know
I
that.
didn't know. That's why he said
Because we were like, it sounds like Dr. Evil. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think that
Even
he
the
got
looks.
it from Dana Carvey's impression, because Dana Carvey used to always do, so it was kind of a funny little homage
That's
to
Oh
the
my
thing.
God.
Maybe you want to
that's
go
so
watch
cool to know
Austin
that.
Powers again.
Oh, gosh.
So that was obviously great. And then I thought it was cool that the last thing we end with on that is them thanking the crew. And then we go into Jack
Standing
White
ovation again,
introducing Paul Simon, which introduces the band, which is such a big part of SNL.
Yeah.
And then letting them stand up, take a bow, and then saying standing ovation.
So good.
He didn't have to say it, but people were going to do it anyways. But it's thanking the people who really turned the wheels at SNL. The only thing I think they could have included was maybe doing something for the writers. The writers got mentioned several times, but maybe bringing the writers on stage to do that. Maybe.
I think it's interesting they didn't.
Maybe because it changes a lot.
And a lot of times it's a lot of the performers are the writers, too.
Yeah.
So it'd be like kind of, should Will Ferrell be up there?
That would be a lot of writers to have to acknowledge because they circle in and circle out. So
They did it one time when Jay Leno ended his show. The first time they brought all the writers in all of his years, and all the babies had their family, and it was like you couldn't even see anybody in the shot because they had to pan so wide.
Wow.
It'd be a similar thing because it's been on about as long as Jay was on originally.
It'd be everyone in the audience plus more.
And then we see Steve Martin close the show with Lorne Michaels. So overall thoughts, what else do you guys have?
I think
Warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I almost I did feel like there was maybe something more at the end. I think it ended and we're like, oh.
Yeah.
But now that we're talking about it, I'm like, oh no, they did cover everything.
Well, let's mention this real quick before we go out. But NSYNC was rumored to be there. They weren't.
Yes.
Backstreet Boys, and then even somebody, Chris from NSYNC, tweeted that he's missed his flight to New York last night and hashtag SNL40. So people were upset. There was never confirmed. They weren't even in the attendance. Some people couldn't even be there.
Joey Fatone, I think, was in there though.
Some people were there, but I know that E already did a story that people were upset that they weren't there. That was like a big topic of discussion. So.
Rumors, man.
Interesting thing. In the meantime, guys, this is so good. I feel bad for whoever hosts next. By the way, it's gonna be
Dakota Johnson.
Yeah, she's gonna have to do a great job. So,
but she can be submissive. So.
That's good. That's a 50 Shades of Grey joke, which you guys saw last night. In the meantime, until then, where can we find you guys, Katie?
I'm Katie Wilbert, and you can tweet me or find me on Instagram at Katie Wilbert.
I'm Kelly McInerney. You can tweet me and find me on Instagram at Holly Weirdo.
And I'm Kimberly Crossman, and you can find me at Kim Crossman.
And I'm Danny Hoyt. I'm your host. You can find me on everything at Danny Hoyt. Until next time, thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next time on AfterBuzz TV SNL.
Yes.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.